Welcome back, everybody, to the Friday episode of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, one in which takes a look into a little bit of everything. Lots happening across the NHL. That's why you're tuning in. Let's break it all down for you and get this money.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You heard the music and you know what time it is. We are back for a Friday episode of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen every single day. You know we see and appreciate that love, so make sure you smash that subscribe button. And wherever you are, drop us some feedback. Steele and I are steady trying to get better to feed you what you need to rule your fantasy pools. And people, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/Locked On today to get started. Steele, I always trying to make some cute preamble between get started and get started on the episode. And today I need to save every single second we have on the board. There's a lot going on in the NHL.
Yeah.
And now up until fantasy playoff time, it's creeping. And it's time to get real serious. And honestly, I've been a victim of over this stretch of the season, fantasy-wise, getting a little complacent, getting a little off my team, maybe spending a little bit too much time on TikTok or Twitter or Tinder or whatever it is that you're wasting your time on. You should be looking at your fantasy team right now. This is how you're going to crush it. That's why we have to get to all the top news around the NHL today. Alex Ovechkin back, Cam Talbot back, Patrick Kane on a heater, some injury news out of the Nashville Predators, and we're going to round it up with some of the top trade deadline news around Timo Meier, players like Luke Shen, all implications on your fantasy team, plus big-time bets. Steele, I'm done talking for now. I want to throw it over to you because a quick glance, you and I talked a lot about the Washington Capitals and what we thought about they're going to do in the playoffs. Ovi has missed 4 games. They have lost 4 games without him, 5 straight. Let's start with Ovechkin. What do you think his impact and return will be over the last stretch of this season?
Well, it has to be huge no matter what because of the playoff race they're in right now. You know, a couple points back of a wild card spot and not a lot of games in hand. I actually think the teams around them have games in hand on the Washington Capitals, but it's absolutely huge for the success in the future to make a postseason run to have Ovechkin back. Obviously, it's very sad news. Again, losing a father, losing any kind of family member, it's always tough, no matter how old you are, what age or where you are in the world. It's always tough. And like you said, the Washington Capitals have lost their last 5 games, 4 without Alex Ovechkin. He's their captain. He is the number one biggest piece and biggest, the heartbeat, the success of this Capitals organization. So they need him in the lineup. So no matter how sad it is that, losing a family member, they need him in the lineup, and he's now back. Played last night against the Anaheim Ducks. We don't know the score of that because we're recording early, but they need him because they were in those 5 games. They were outscored 20-8, and that's unacceptable. As well as Ovechkin being the success for this team, I think a lot of the attention also needs to go on Darcy Kuemper as well. He needs to stand on his head for the remainder of the season. Too many times he's let in a few muffin goals in the games, not been his best, not been as sharp as we saw him last year with the Colorado Avalanche. So a lot of attention on Alex Ovechkin to get the job done offensively, and a lot of attention should be on Darcy Kuemper to get the job done in the blue paint.
It'll be a lot harder with Kuemper, what I'm trying to say next, but you and I have looked at this long and hard, and maybe we were looked at for being wrong about this Washington Capitals team because they kind of kept winning. They kept going on mini streaks. They looked like they wanted to go down a bad turn of losing, and they kept winning. A big reason why, Alex Ovechkin. But now it's starting to happen, Steele, and I would say if you could maybe package off a couple of these Washington Capitals pieces, as in include a good player with one of these Caps pieces if you're a fantasy GM, and get back some value if you are in the race. I'm just wary about the value of a lot of these major pieces of the Washington Capitals, other than Alex Ovechkin down the stretch. Steele, that's the first thing you have to look at with that Alex Ovechkin news. And the second thing we want to look at is the return of Cam Talbot. And look, the Washington Capitals are in tough to make a playoff spot. The Ottawa Senators are obviously even in a tougher spot, 4 points back. Something tells me, though, Steele, one of these teams, I don't know who it is. Maybe it's because we're talking Talbot and we've talked so much about the Ottawa Senators. One of these teams here, Detroit, Washington, Buffalo, Ottawa, I think they're going to go on some kind of heater at the end of the year and make it in there
Yes.
as a wild card team. Maybe we'll have a special episode on wild cards. Hit me with your take, though, on Ottawa's chances now that Cam Talbot is back in the cage, because I think he now immediately becomes very valuable down the
Yes.
stretch fantasy wise.
Yeah, I would expect him to get at least 85% of the remaining games in the season. Of course, staying healthy at the same time, but it's absolutely huge news for the Ottawa Senators. Somehow, with everything that they've had to deal with this year, they are still in a playoff race right now.
Yep.
And like it is going to be a very tough stretch for the remainder of the season with the teams ahead of them. But to get one of their one or two starting goaltenders back in the lineup, obviously he goes down to injury, and then Anton Forsberg goes down, tearing both MCLs in his knees. So you're out with your number one and your number two. And even with both of those guys out, like Cam Talbot's last game was January 25th. And in that stretch, the Ottawa Senators went 6-3-0. Kevin Mandolese and Mad Sogard were able to get the job done without those guys, without the two number one goaltenders. Now that Cam Talbot's back, they've somehow, again, managed to keep in this playoff race. And again, like Darcy Kemper, he needs to be a brick wall in the blue paint, as well as, now with the Ottawa Senators unloading Nikita Zaitchev's contract to the Chicago Blackhawks, let Pierre Dorion do his job. Let him go out there, work his magic, and acquire a right shot defenseman that can help Thomas Chabot on the back end. That is the number one piece they are addressing right now. I think they're going to get a deal done by at least the end of this weekend, by Sunday. Because they've been looking like we've talked about with the LA Kings. So it's huge news for the Ottawa Senators to get at least one of their goalies back. Talbot is only owned. I believe he's rostered under 50% on ESPN. So if you need a goaltender right now, you need to go out and grab Cam Talbot.
12, 13-1, one shutout, 2.90 goals against, and a 905 save percentage this year for Cam Talbot. But for me, it's just the hunger and competitiveness still of the top six group in Ottawa. Now they have a goalie back, Steele. And, this is no discredit due to actually even Anton Forsberg, who's gone out, but to the two young goalies who have tried to get it done over the last week or so for the Sens. I think this could be a nice boost of confidence for this young team. And I've just come on this show and talked way too much about how much I like them offensively when they are healthy. We know that hasn't happened this year, Steele, Josh Norris, and otherwise. But all I needed to say was make sure, if you're in need of any kind of goaltending help, if you're looking over Cam Talbot, it doesn't make sense because, Steele, I think the Ottawa Senators are going to get some wins down the stretch. I haven't looked at the schedule, but week to week, Cam Talbot is going to be a great option. A great option is that you tune in for the rest of the show. We're going to get to Ryan Johansson. We're going to get to some top NHL trade rumors involving Luke Schenn and Timo Meier. Of course, we got big time bets, baby, and we're going to roll out with those. But let me just hit you with our friends from Built Bar. Today's episode is brought to you by Built Bar. And if you're looking for a delicious yet nutritious treat that is low in fat and calories, you got to go hit up Built. They are the delicious and nutritious start for everyone in the morning, covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. It's Steele's favorite. And I'm serious. It's good before or after the gym because they hit you with those good macros, 17 grams of protein per bar and only 130 calories. Even better, only 4 grams of sugar. And now you actually don't need to wait around to get a box anymore. Yes, you can still go to Built.com and order yourself whatever you need, but you can now go to Walmart and Sam's Club and get yourself this deliciousness from Built. Head to your nearest Walmart today, go to the pharmacy section, and grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate or coconut puff, or if you're heading down to Sam's Club, hit up that 13-bar box with all the flavors from brownie batter to churro, and you can thank us all later. That's the fire from Built or Built.com. our favorite snack.
Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Don't forget we are available and free on your favorite podcast platform, Spotify, Apple Music. It doesn't matter where you listen. Tune in each and every day. Also on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe, hit the follow button. You get all the latest content, 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. We appreciate the support out there. We see you guys. Don't worry about that. Let's continue on the hot conversation. Obviously, trade deadline. Guys are heating up right now, trying to showcase one of those guys, Patrick Kane, Chicago Blackhawks. They've actually turned it around the last week, which is surprising as well. I think they've won like their last 3 or 4 games, it seems like, or have been at least close in those games. But Patrick Kane is he's out there and he's trying to prove something to a lot of those haters that have been calling him out, saying that he still can't move up and down the ice. He needs to maneuver. He needs to skate a little bit better, but he's out there. Last 4 games, 7 goals, 10 points total, and 17 shots on net. He's now at 45 points on the season, which isn't too bad as a 33-year-old. Again, a lot of debate on still what happens with Patrick Kane's future with the Chicago Blackhawks. Obviously, Tarasenko, the Tarasenko trade, the Ryan O'Reilly trade. He didn't seem too happy about that, but
yeah, how awesome is that though, Steele? Seriously,
it is.
Not to cut you off, apologies there, but how Patrick Kane is this? Seriously, he gets spurned, he gets pissed off, and look at him go and I want to throw it back to you because I have interrupted you, so my bad on that. I think what the Chicago Blackhawks have done over those last 4 games actually might be more impressive for Patrick Kane's trade value than the statistics. This guy is making this team who's this bad win 4 games. What's it going to do to a team that's on the cusp of winning a cup? Because I think that's my biggest takeaway for this. My goodness, this guy can still go. And I don't know about you, but that hip looks pretty good.
No, it does look good. And that's what I'm saying. Even though he's 33 years old right now, he's out there trying to prove all these haters wrong. And that's the thing I love about Patrick Kane's game right now as well, is even though he might not have the same stick handling ability, he might not have the same edge work and the speed, he still is so intelligent on the ice. He figures out where to be exactly at the right time, when to join the rush, where to go to get open.
Can't teach that.
To set up, you can't teach that. You set up your teammates or get set up by your teammates. And we've seen this chemistry between Kane and Max Domi kind of elevate over the last 4 game stretch as well. So both those 2 players have been heating up. I know there's been a lot of traction around Max Domi as well, but I know Chicago likes him. He likes being in Chicago too. So we'll see what happens with both Patrick Kane and Max Domi in the future ahead of the trade deadline. But let's talk about Ryan Johansson now. Out for the next 12 weeks. He had surgery on his right leg a couple of days ago. And what do you think about the Nashville Predators' chances now, especially, still being out of a wild card spot? Johansson, one of their, I guess, top forwards, out for the next 3 months. So what are your thoughts on the Nashville Predators?
He struggled this year, Steele, and that kind of maybe tempers the impact of why, we're talking about Johansson down the lineup today in today's episode. 12 goals, 16 assists in 55 games this season. Obviously a disappointment for a number 4 pick overall and a guy who's been a lot better over his career, especially over the last couple of years. And he is an important piece, though. This Nashville team is definitely one of those clubs that gets it done by committee. And even without a guy like Johansson, to me, Steele, a general manager, David Poile, already came out and said they will not be buyers. So I actually think if they don't pull it together over the next week or so, they might start to become sellers. And what I read today was they're asking for 2 first-rounders for Mattias Ekholm. Yeah. I like Mattias Ekholm, but 2 first-rounders for a guy who really just, to me, is average offensively and good defensively seems like a very high price and a very David Poile move. So for me, I think this might really shift them into sellers. I don't know what that will look like in terms of the pieces. Maybe UC Saros goes on a heater, but they just don't have it offensively, Steele. There's not enough firepower in the cupboard to go up against some of these teams. So that's where I'm at with this Nashville Predators team. Although they're well coached, they have some pretty solid defensive depth, and I do love Saros. I just think if they maybe even slide a couple games, they'll become sellers almost immediately.
Yeah, and you know, my early bold prediction of the Nashville
Mm.
Predators being a top 3
Yeah,
team in the NHL completely
yeah.
out the window. That was a garbage take. We're here for it. We're
You
here
know,
for the
no,
garbage
it's
take.
not garbage, Steele. I don't think
It
it's
was pretty
garbage.
garbage. It
Okay,
was a
all right.
garbage.
I'm trying to prop you up here, but all right.
No, you know that happens to the best of us. You know,
Yeah.
I really did feel the Nashville Predators. It was going to be a dark horse team this season. But you know, talk about Ryan Johansson. He is a very talented player. He has been a very talented player throughout his NHL career, but also one of those guys that is, to me, has just been very inconsistent as well. Like he'll put up 70 points,
Yes.
and then the next year he'll put up 31. Last year he put up 63. The year before that. The year before that, he put up 22 and 48. So very inconsistent, talented player. He's one of those guys that at this point, or even the last few years, is probably not draftable. He's one of those guys that you pick up every few weeks off the waiver wire for an advantageous four game week on their schedule. But also, again, like I'm looking at the stats for the Nashville Predators. When you have a defenseman who leads the team in points, who's Roman Josi, that to me screams problem. Like you
never a good thing.
Yeah, you can't have a defenseman leading the team in points at 50. You know, Duchesne 17 goals, Forsberg 19 goals. Both those guys had over 40 goals last year, so definitely a down season for both of those guys as well. But like you said, I'm not sure how much of sellers the Nashville Predators are going to be, because I know I've heard a couple of names tossed around. Matthias Ekholm being one of them. Nito Niederreiter apparently is gaining. Yeah, Tanner Jeannot, which I think is not going to happen, but who knows? But Nino Niederreiter has been kind of linked to the New Jersey Devils as well. Dante Fabro is a defenseman who could be moved. So yeah, let's get over to the New Jersey Devils now.
Nice segue, Steele.
What's going on with them and potentially landing Timo Meier?
Well, they've been involved with so many names, and the one that I hear the most, and yeah, speaking of involved so much, Timo Meier, I think, has been involved with almost every single team that has a shot at the Stanley Cup this year. The one that makes the most sense to me, though, Steele, I would see Timo Meier in red, white, and black in New Jersey in a heartbeat. But according to this latest report, it's Dawson Mercer that's holding up this piece of the trade between the San Jose Sharks and the New Jersey Devils. And I think just very quickly, and you know, we wanted to just mention as well, we don't need to break anything down. The Bruins and Penguins are the two main teams that are going to add Luke Schenn if Luke Schenn goes to
Hold up. Sorry, Flip. Sorry to cut you off, but breaking news.
Yes.
Boston Bruins acquired Dimitry Orlov and Garnett Hathaway from the Washington Capitals.
Did I not just
3 draft picks and Craig Smith?
Did I not just spit out the words, the Boston Bruins, interested in Luke Schenn? Oh my goodness now. Okay. And hit me with that trade one more time, please.
That's absolutely incredible, especially since we were just talking to Ian McLaren, and he was pretty much saying that the Vladislav Gavrikov trade was almost a done deal. They were just trying to work out cap space. So here's the deal right now. Boston Bruins acquire defenseman Dimitry Orlov and Garnett Hathaway from the Washington Capitals in exchange for a 2023 first-round pick, a 2025 second-round pick, a 2024 third-round pick, and forward Craig Smith.
That is, in my opinion, a high price to pay for those two players. Steele, that's a good package going to Washington. But what does it tell me as well? This Boston Bruins team and franchise thinks it is made for a Stanley Cup, because from their point of view right now this season, I actually like both moves for both teams. That's where, and when I think about it now, Orlov in the mix, Hathaway in the mix, I think maybe the Boston Bruins have seen and heard what the other teams around are doing, and they're doing Boston Bruins-esque things and getting very tough. Both of those players play with a bit of edge, and I like Orlov's game when he's on it, because he does bring that offensive flair when he has those good days.
Perfectly said. I think both Orlov and Hathaway scream Boston Bruin players. Like they fit into the mold and style that the Bruins play to perfection almost. You know, I'm a big Garnett Hathaway guy, a fourth line grinder, bruiser, who is a very physical guy. We know Orlov can be physical and is a puck mover.
Man, the Bruins
from time to time as well. The Bruins
always do this.
They always do this.
Man, that's annoying.
We said this that this is probably the time to go all in. So Boston
Yeah.
Bruins going all in. It looked like they were going after Gavrikov. That's not happening. They land Dimitry Orlov
Whoa.
and
Wait.
Garnett Hathaway.
Wait a
Absolutely
sec.
incredible.
Also, doesn't this maybe tell us where the Washington Capitals franchise thinks they're at? Giving off Orlov and Hathaway right now? I don't see someone stepping in on the blue line, most importantly, this
No,
year. To me, Steele, that tells me, and I know Ovechkin said no rebuilding, but that's as close to a move for the future as I've ever seen one for this
uh,
Washington Capitals team.
look, they get Craig Smith, he was okay. He can play the third line center, and then you get 3 draft picks. That's okay too. They need to get John Carlson back. I know he's back and skating with the team and
Yeah.
non-contact jersey. Obviously after that tough injury, but they need John
Good
Carlson
move for their
back on the
future.
blue line to help. Good move for the future. We'll see what the Capitals can do. Let's continue on the conversation though of Timo Meier, the New Jersey Devils, and the San Jose Sharks after this. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Don't forget, we are free and available on your favorite podcast platform. So hit the subscribe, hit the follow button. You'll never miss an episode when you are tuned in and subscribed and followed. We appreciate all the love, all the support our listeners show us every single day. We are going to get to big time bets. Lots of juicy games Friday night, Flip. I am looking at a couple of them. But I do want to continue the conversation of the New Jersey Devils and Timo Meier, if you don't mind. Yeah, I definitely do see Timo Meier ending up as a New Jersey Devil. I think that would be the greatest choice if the Devils could land him. I don't know if you heard this as well, but apparently the St. Louis Blues are also in on Timo Meier and are willing to give up 2 first-round picks in order to acquire him. So maybe Timo Meier to St. Louis that can kind of jump in between Jordan Kyrou and Robert Thomas on that top line. Who knows about that future? This is kind of a little bit of a sidetrack as well, but I've heard that Torrey Krug is getting a little traction potentially ahead of the deadline. But what are your thoughts on the Timo Meier, New Jersey Devils, and potentially maybe going to St. Louis?
Yeah, Doug Armstrong, general manager of the Blues, has proven that he can be a very aggressive general manager. That's not exactly new news or a bold take. To me, if you're the San Jose Sharks, I think you might be able to maximize on the return a little bit more. And I don't know. Hey, this is just me thinking with my general manager cap on. And yeah, I've never done an actual job as a general manager, but I would prefer to trade Timo Meier right out of the conference because he is a young enough player and a good enough one that I don't want him to terrorize me in any way. Mike Greer is also a very astute hockey mind that was put in the position that he is for a reason. And I can just see him really making the most of this right now. And to me, the most return comes from a team going for it. The St. Louis Blues might say they're willing to do this and put this out there. Maybe this is a good media spin after losing 2 of your most popular players, maybe your most popular in Ryan O'Reilly. Maybe this is a good way to spin things for your media and otherwise. It doesn't make any sense. The fact that, though, the San Jose Sharks want Dawson Mercer back, that makes a lot of sense because the value in Timo Meier right now is obviously sky high. He's going somewhere, Steele. We just don't know where.
And I will say this, if the Devils are able to land Timo Meier and they sign him to a long-term contract along with their other young guys, I think for next year's fantasy draft anyways, Timo Meier and Jack Hughes become automatic second-round picks in any fantasy draft because of how many shots they put on net, the goal-scoring ability. Nico Hischier might be a third.
Okay, I had to get it in there.
Yeah, Jack Hughes and Timo Meier all the way.
Next level.
There is still so much to happen in the next few days, the next week, ahead of the trade deadline. Let's get over to big time bets where the money is made.
Yes, sir.
Couple games here that I'm really excited about, Flip, and I definitely want your take on these. I'll start off with my first pick. I'm taking the Islanders on the money line against the LA Kings.
Okay.
Islanders have a 6-2-2 record in their last 10 games. Even without Matthew Barzal, they're still kind of getting it done. However, the matchups between the Islanders and Kings. Kings have a 5-4-1 record in the last 10 games against the Islanders. However, at the same time, the Kings have lost their last 4 games at UBS Arena. And
Oh.
yeah, so the game's in New York. It's on Long Island,
Mhm. Mhm.
UBS Arena. I'm taking the Islanders on the money line because every time it seems like the Kings go there, it doesn't go their way. So Islanders money line, that's my first pick.
Yeah, you've been heavy on the trends lately, and I'll say this, sometimes it can really make you a ton of money. In this case, I don't hate it, but as a listener out there, just make sure that you don't fall in love with the trends. But as a few degenerate partners of mine in the past, trends are usually your friends, people. Speaking of which, let me head over to a game that to me is my favorite on the board in terms of I think is going to be an awesome one to watch. Winnipeg Jets, Minnesota Wild steal, or sorry, Colorado Avalanche, Winnipeg Jets. Man, I'm looking
Yeah.
at too many games here. Colorado heads into Winnipeg with a 6-3-1 record in tow over their last 10 against these Winnipeg Jets. The Jets have been a little bit up and down, Steel. And I
Yeah.
understand that they had a nice 4-1 win against the Rangers only 2 games ago. But other than that, the last 10 days have been bad for this Winnipeg Jets team. And there's going to be growing pains when you just don't have that blue line that I think they need. Otherwise, Colorado 3-2 against Mini, 4-1 against St. Louis, and 6-5 against the Edmonton Oilers. I like the odd on the road here. Also, let me hit you with this. Colorado has won 7 of 8 games against their Western Conference opponents, and they are good on the road. They're good against the Central Division. Give me the Colorado Avalanche on the money line, minus 103. Good odd as well.
Yeah, I absolutely love that pick because the Colorado Avalanche right now, they smell blood in the water. Dallas Stars
Yes.
have lost their last 5 games. The Winnipeg Jets
Yes.
are 4-6-0 in their last 10. They smell blood right now. They are coming for the top spot in
I
that Central
agree.
Division. Yeah, they, obviously once they get Cale Makar back and they get fully healthy, even Gabriel Landeskog, whenever he joins the team is still probably the best, if not top
The
3 in the
fact that
league
they've
right
been able
now.
to get this done, Steele,
Yeah,
they lose Nas, they lose all these major pieces, and they bring in a new number one goaltender. Alexander Gorgiev is not getting nearly enough love. If I were the rest of the Western Conference, I'd be nervous because
yeah.
if they get healthy at any point, they are the favorite, in my opinion, 100% in the West. Maybe not out of the East because there are some really good teams there too. But yeah, man,
Yeah,
no, like start betting on the Colorado Avalanche if you haven't already and pay attention because they're just getting better.
I like that pick, and especially it's a pretty good odd minus 103, like you said.
Yeah.
My second pick, I'm actually going to take the Senators on the puck line plus 1.5 against the Carolina
Oh,
Hurricanes.
love
Like I
that.
said, Talbot, he hasn't played since January 25th, but the Sens did go 6-3-0 in that time. They managed to stay in the race. It's very important that they get at least 3 points in the next 2 games on this road trip. Yeah, Carolina Hurricanes, their game tomorrow. So Senators puck line 1.5 at plus 1.5. Not sure what the odds are right now, but I do love them at plus 1.5 to either keep it a close game or potentially win. And my lock of the night, Flip. If this isn't your lock of the night, I would be very, very surprised it's not. But it has to be the Sabres and Panthers over 6.5 goals for the lock of the night. 2 teams that let in a lot. Is it? Is it? It is. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Sabres and Panthers both flipping
Yeah,
my
it is.
lock of the night. You have to go. You've hit this almost like
Yeah.
99% of the year.
Yeah, man. And hey, I'll like look, that is my lock of the night for the people who aren't on YouTube. First of all, head over to YouTube, drop us a comment, drop us a subscribe. We're here every day, Monday to Friday. I'm showing up the notes to prove 5 of the last 6 between these 2 teams. Regardless, actually, if you look at all of their games, they all go over the number. But actually, when they go head to head, 5 of the last 6 have also gone over the number steal. And you know what I'm going to do because I saw that teasing it to 6.5. Some boards have it at 7 right now. 6.5 is still a good odd. Buffalo at
Yes.
Florida is going over the number. Have a look at their recent marks. 9 goals the last game against the Toronto Maple Leafs for the Sabres. Then 6 goals, 10 goals, 7 goals, 9 goals, 6 goals. It's messy. This one's going over the number for sure. And actually, you know what I was going to think you were going to say because I've been talking about it so much, and he has looked really good. The Toronto Maple Leafs now have the benefit of a line of Ryan O'Reilly, Mitch Marner, and John Tavares, 3 all-stars, 3 captains potentially, taking away the attention from Austin Matthews, Michael Bunting, and William Nylander, another elite line. And I think now you're going to see that attention shift even more. Austin Matthews has looked really good. The last 2 games, 0 points. That's going to change tonight. I've been saying Matthews anytime goal all week long. Minnesota comes into Toronto. Philip Gustafson has been good, but it could be Marc-Andre Fleury in net. And if it is, I expect a lot of goals. Let me just pull this up to finish off my cherry. 9 career games for Austin Matthews against the Minnesota Wild in his regular season career. 8 goals in those 9 games. Give me Austin Matthews anytime goal. That was my second pick, but Steele, we might just have to hammer this Buffalo, Florida over and just, pay for the farm, baby. Let's go.
Put the house on it. It's
That's
going
it.
over
Pink
the money.
slips, baby.
We are hammering. Look, I'll say this about the Leafs too. I couldn't be happier with the outcome of all 4 lines right now, even down to the 4th line. Nola Chari, Zach Aston Reese. I really like that line a lot. No. We gotta pump the tires up.
Steele, don't.
We gotta get hyped. We gotta get excited. Hey, we gotta do it. We're Leaf fans over here.
Let's talk about it after we get out of the first round. But for real, Dubas is not done. If you're seeing how good they are on the ice, I swing for the fences. I go for Jacob Chikrin. I don't even care now. Go for it, baby. Let's plan the parade. Let's go. I want it all in. That might be my end of the episode. I've had a half a land shark take, but that's why you stay tuned to the show, because, Steele, we're going to have a lot more breakdowns, playoffs, Stanley Cup odds, trade deadline news, guests. That's why. Take us away.
There's always a ton to talk about fantasy hockey wise. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. We are available Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts, on your favorite podcast platform. Thank you again for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Have a great day. Good luck with all your bets out there, and we shall see you back here again on Monday.
Peace.